Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show. How's it going? Several of you sweating it last night in Discord, but turns out nothing burger overnight for the events happening in the Middle East. Anyway, check it out. Netflix reporting earnings after the close. Get a little spike, a lot of spike, and drop. And I should turn off this. Look at that. Plummeting into the abyss. Man, I'll tell you what, right there. Beating on the top, beating on the bottom, and still getting pummeled into the dirt. Down, what? Pre-market 42? Down 42. And, well, I'll tell you. Sometimes it makes the biggest losers list. So, sometimes you just got a feeling. I've been saying for a little bit that it needed to return to the roadmap line here on the daily chart. This is going to put it like halfway there, roughly. Halfway, right there. About 6% down. Yeah, about 12%, 13% to get there. So we're about halfway. Do expect it maybe to do a little bouncy bounce here. Possibly we could rally back up. Or we do the final kind of move like this. Something like that. Maybe over here out in the future. We'll see what happens. But Netflix could be rolling something like that. All right. There you go. It's kind of what I expect. I've been talking about the fact that I thought Netflix was going to roll for a little while. I was out on the last pop at 550, and it turns out right there we are, almost back at 550. So, anyway, yeah, happy having day. That's likely to occur here just in a little bit. Just a little bit. Dun, 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 dun. We're down to less than 100 blocks. 10 hours to go. It's getting exciting. Been talking about it for years, and now here we are. But remember, this is just, hey, look, Mara just nailed one. Dun, 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 dun. Now, this is just the starting line. All right, looks like the my feed on it. Looks like we're running behind here on this one. 73, and the actual, this says 71 going, remaining. That was block number, yeah. 839,929. We're looking for block number 840,000. That will be the halving. That's where it is. And we are running a bit ahead schedule, 26 blocks ahead. This keeps varying quite a bit. And we'll adjust the difficulty in 5 days. So having today won't really matter. Like, that doesn't do anything to the difficulty. The difficulty adjusts in 5 days right here. And I've talked about that the last few days, what the difficulty is. But essentially, when you look at one of these blocks that gets authenticated, and thought I clicked. Maybe not. I don't know. Try it again. There we go. This hash number right here. You see those zeros in the front? The difficulty is how many bits of this, I think it's 256 bit long number that authenticates the block. How many bits have to be 0? So to make it more difficult, they add more zeros. To make it less difficult, they take away the zeros. All right. Now, SHA-256, you can hash 1, 1 and a 1 together, and you get some crazy number. You hash 1 and a 2 together, and you get some completely different, unpredictable hash number. And so that's essentially what the, 1 is like the transactions in the block. The other number is what miners are trying to guess to hash against the block of transactions and come up with this hash number. And the subsidy for doing that work right now is 6.25 Bitcoins. And look at that, with the transactions, that block was worth 9 Bitcoins. Wow, baby. Whoa, baby. That was a pretty good one. And after today, after about 10 hours from now, when this halving event, 71 more blocks, it's going to be cut to 3.125 Bitcoins instead of 6.25 Bitcoins. And then for another 210,000 blocks, the reward will be 3.125 Bitcoins. And then sometime probably in 2028, maybe February or March, we will cut that again in half. So it'll go from 3.125 to 1. I don't know, whatever it is, 1.625, 1. I don't know. It's a weird number because 1.625, maybe that'd be 625 and then plus 5. So I don't know. So 1.5625. I don't know, whatever it is. And so this is just the starting line though. The halving run typically occurs after halving. All right. Halving doesn't have Bitcoin. Seemed to be a misconception that was happening in Discord this morning, maybe. And when we go look at the all-time history and zoom out, zoom out, go back in time to a land far, far away, called the ancient history of Bitcoin. Back in 2020, the last one. Look, we sat sideways for a while. And then we started rallying, and then things got spicy, and then things got really spicy compared to where we had been down here at the lows around 3,000. All right. We went from 3,000 to 60,000. That's like a 20x. Roughly, give or take, just a little bit. That's pretty spicy, right? We do a 10x. The low we had right back here, 15,000. 10x, 150,000 on the upside. 20x, like we did last time, 300,000. So we may get a pullback, we may get a pullback in a kind of lackluster kind of action. I do kind of expect us to possibly go visit this area down here. Possibly. May not. We may have done the dip ahead of time. All right. This right here, right in here, right in there was the spot ETF approval. Everybody was super hyped up and excited for that to happen. Ramped right up into it and sell the news. But then made a bottom and took off. So it was a little mini halving rally, but it was a ETF approval rally. So that may very well happen. We may see a knee-jerk reaction over the weekend, even into next week. Don't lose sight of the goal here. The goal is a 12 to 18 month pattern, not we're exploding higher today. All right. So here we are. Here we are. Anybody have trouble with that concept? Anybody at all? Let me know. Let me know. Almost every halving, we tend to add a 0 to Bitcoin's value, like in dollar terms. So what does that mean? It means that the last cycle here, 15,000, we add a 0, 150,000, multiplied by 10x. All right. If we go back and look at other halvings, and the one before, we were at 600. Then we were at 1,000. The one before that, way on down, we were at like 9, 10 bucks. Then we're at 100, the hundreds. Then we're at the thousands. Then we're at the 10,000s. We're gonna be at the 100,000s, possibly the millions. I don't know. I don't really expect the millions till in the 2030s, honestly. So we'll do one in 2028. We'll probably do one in 2032. It may be right on New Year's by that time, if the blocks keep running a little fast. So, it's based on the block numbers, not on a fixed timeline. It's based on these blocks of transactions. So 210,000 blocks, we'll do it again, probably in 2028. 210,000 after that, do it again, probably in 2032, maybe late 2031. That's the cycle. All right. We usually get a 12 to 18 month run, a 12-ish month pullback, and then a build up into the next halving. We're already up like 400% off the lows. It's hard to argue that it has not been quite bullish. All right. I guess you could argue with me, but I don't think you're right. Put it that way. All right. Moving on. What do I expect to happen today? Not a ton. I mean, well, there we go. One more down. So we'll just kind of burn into the halving, and then I kind of expect it to be like people just be bummed out about it. Like a bunch of headlines, a bunch of this is the biggest scam ever in crypto, blah, 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 blah. You just wait and see. People may sell the crap out of this. We may see a giant dip. That's a buying opportunity if you do believe in the bigger picture, because a lot of fundamental things different about this. Bitcoin's, if you want to call it the expulsion rate, the rate of Bitcoin coming on the market, adding to the current supply, it will now be, after this halving in roughly 11 hours, it will now be more rare than the rate that gold comes on the market, that new gold that nobody's ever owned before comes on the market. So new Bitcoins that nobody's ever owned before will be twice as rare as gold coming on the market. And for the first time ever, apparently my Google Voice busts through my muting. So anyway, that event, today, that halving event changes the relationship of gold and everything else in the world. So finally, for the first time ever, we will have something that is more rare commodity than gold. That'll be the first time in human history. So this is a unique situation. Is it actually valuable? I don't know. I mean, a lot of people say it's not that Bitcoin's not tangible. Well, you could print these out and touch it all you want. It's just a bunch of numbers, and it exists on the computer. So, do ETFs buy from the miners? They buy from the exchanges. That's where they buy. Most of them buy. Let's see. Do I even have? So you've got 11 spot ETFs right now. 9 of them are at Coinbase, or 8 of them are at Coinbase. So most of them use Coinbase. The supply of Bitcoin at Coinbase is at like a 6-year low or something like that. So Coinbase is having to go to other exchanges and buy Bitcoin. So they go to exchanges and buy Bitcoin. Then Fidelity, I'm not sure how they fund. That since they are their own fiduciary, I don't know what market they're going to buy their Bitcoin. And then Gemini is one of the others, and I can't remember, Bitco or something like that is another fiduciary. So those miners are out there selling their Bitcoin into these exchanges, and then these ETFs are there trying to grab the supply. Now there is, in case you didn't know, there is quite a bit of supply already out there in the market on Bitcoin. Coin market cap. We've got 19.6 million Bitcoins out there in the wild. There's only going to be 21 million total. So between now and when the halving events end, sometime in 2140, that's 2,140 the year. That's like 100 years from now. When we finally get that 21 millionth Bitcoin completely mined out, that'll be it. There's not going to be more. Everybody's like, oh, well, they can just change the code. No. Every participant in the Bitcoin network has to agree if we're going to change the code and change the supply. No one person is going to change the supply number. All right. So if you want to be a participant in the network, just go to bitcoin.com, I think it is, and download the software, run it on your computer. A few days later, you'll be a participant in the network. And then you can have a say-so. You can have a vote. Just because you hold Bitcoin doesn't mean you have a vote. But if you run a node, what they call a node, on your computer, it's just a piece of software, then you're a participant in the network. You get a vote. And miners get a vote, and just participants. You don't even have to mine. You just run the software that authenticates. It keeps a record, a ledger of the Bitcoin blockchain. All the transactions ever. So, anyway, I have widely said that when these spot ETFs hit the market, which they did in January, that they were going to soak up about 10 to 15% of the total supply, or the available supply. There's roughly estimated to be about 4 million of these that are lost, that nobody can recover. Roughly 4 million. So that leaves around 15 million that are possibly out there to be traded. And you soak up like 10% of that, like 1.5 million, Bitcoins, and lock them up into the ETFs. I mean, that gets pretty crazy. And these funds have been putting out there that they plan on allocate, like they're telling clients to allocate 1% to Bitcoin, to crypto. And with these spot ETFs, think about BlackRock. BlackRock's $12 trillion under management. 1%, that's 120 billion. So we go look at their IBIT. We go roll down here and look at what they got right now, 16 billion. So if they soak up another $100 billion in Bitcoin, that's a lot of juice, right? So, so BitX is a 2x daily return on Bitcoin. All right, and so yes, you can do the math. Like, so if Bitcoin goes to 7,500, what percentage is that? What percentage higher? So the question is, BitX is 2 times Bitcoin. That's 2 times daily, not 2 times period. Is there a way to figure out the price of BitX if Bitcoin goes to, say, 75 or 45? Yeah, it moves 2x on a percentage basis. That's the rough. You'd have to go read the prospectus to make sure. BITU is another one. BITX is the one we're talking about. And if it goes, let's say, Bitcoin right now is at, let's just use the futures at the official price, 65,000, right? So popping up just grab the calculator. 75,000 divided by 65,000 equals 1.15. And 1.154. So 2x, 2.3. So right there, you multiply 43 by 2.3. Potentially get you your percentage move. It's a percentage move. So 2%. Not huge. All right. It's basically on a percentage move. So now you could say, well, this has been acting a little more violent. Possibly. And if it dropped to 45, you'd be talking about a haircut from... Oh, we got a bunch of calculators going today. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, that one's over here. Put over here. Clear. Actually, it'd be the difference between them minus... It'd be the delta, not the actual... So it'd be a 10... The other would have been a 10,000 with 65. Let's see. Doing math early in the morning. 10,000 divided by 65. Current price equals 15% gain. So you'd be talking about a 30% gain. I was off by a factor of. So 30% from here. Well, from wherever it opens. 30% up. Right in there roughly would get you 75. If it's 2x and they did it in one day. All right. So 45, you'd be down 20. And just clear down 20K divided by 65 equals 30% down, 31% down. So times 2, 60% down. How far could this go down? Ooh, right there. 16. That's how it works. Easy as that. That's the 2x for you. That's leverage cutting both ways. Be careful on leverage. that's not something you want to take on, cool. Don't do it. All right, we could be talking Bitcoin going up from where it is now to 150,000, right? So back to my, I just closed my calculator like a dummy. So what if it went to 150 from 65, right? That's a 2.3x. It's 230% times 2. That's 460%. All right, Bitcoin going to 150,000, 460%. So we'd be looking at right about there, 232. All right, what are you testing, my house? Testing. Anyway, so there you go. If I went to 300,000, well, this baby probably go to 500. Crazy, right? I bought a few shares. We'll see what happens. Dun, dun, dun. Back to what's happening. S&P opening kind of flat. S5FI getting close to the 20 line. Might need another dip. S5TH stocks about the 200-day, sitting on the roadmap line. I don't know that it matters on this particular ticker. This is not a ticker that trends. This is an index that oscillates between 20 and 80. So the roadmap line, while it has provided support and resistance before, I'm not sure that it actually matters that much. We'll see what happens. After popping up here and hitting 80, we may need a visit to 20, but we may also just mess around here until we go even higher. And we dip back below and then went even higher. But we could go visit the bottom also. Historically, every time we've come and visited the top, I mean, sometimes we do it a bunch of times and then go visit the bottom. That's the 200-day. The 50-day tends to go top to bottom, 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 pretty repetitively. And then this one, even more violently. And as far as this one goes, I kind of expect that we're going to shoot back up here. Stocks above the 20-day right here. So, bum, 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 bum. We're right down in the reversal zone as far as stocks above their 20-day. If you were watching all the hubble blub last night, it looked like the world was going to burn down. By the time we get open this morning, nothing burger. Look at that. Overnight. You just look at the cash index and it doesn't look like anything. You look at the ES here. Now, here's the deal. This happened last week. It may happen again. If in fact, which we're already pushing down to a lower low, if in fact this is the lowest low of the week, which we've already got basically in place, it becomes like 90% likely that we're going to make a lower low on Monday or Tuesday. The market, for whatever reason, and the market being the S&P 500, not everything else, the market, for whatever reason, doesn't like to put in the lowest low of the week on a Friday. Now, if we rally at like 100 points off the low here today, it's probably going to be one of the 10 percenters, all right? If we fart around here all day, don't really make any progress higher, 90% likely we're going to make a lower low on Monday or Tuesday. It's just a thing that, like, we don't tend to end the week on a bearish note that stays as the bottom. All right? That's something to watch out for. So what can save us from doing that? Like 50 or 100 point rally. All right, breaking above these highs the last couple of days, possibly this consolidation here, getting on up the road. It's going to take a move up here to really confirm we're going even higher. That up here is now at 5160 area, 5170, 5160, 5170, possibly all the way up to 5200. That's kind of a big resistance zone at this point. So This right here, though, indicates we might be done on the downside. So this is why I'm cautious. All right, this occurred before midnight. I'm not sure that the cash index tells the full story here. So on ES, we're not actually making a lower low today. That was yesterday. All right. Everybody clear? Be careful. There's some nuance in here. And we're testing the 15-minute roadmap line. We get above that, we got the 30-minute just a little bit north of here. And then the 1 hour on up here, about 51.17. And then we've got the 4 hour. Well, it's way on up there. It's way up there back at the zone. I was talking about 51.79 area, like I was talking about with the cash index. So we get above that, and it's looking better. Now, you can see here, we kind of accelerated to the downside. That's like a big flush out. This move for now could be done. Now, the thing to watch, though, is a rally up to this 618 level. That's not in the right place at the moment. Pull it down here. This 618 right where the 4 hour roadmap line is. If that's the thing that plays out, that's the thing to watch. All right. If we rally right up there, test that. That's the big tell. Can we get through it? Or do we reject? And that happens to be right where the trend line is. It's funny how these moves continue until everything's right in the same place as far as an important zone. This happens a lot in the market. Like, I don't foresee it until it actually happens, and then I'm like, well, the 4 hours there, the downtrend line's there, the 618, it's all in the same area right there. If we pop up there and reject, we're going probably down to the daily roadmap line. Right down there. All right. If we pop up and break through, that sets us up to go even higher. Possibly 5,400 at this point. That's a pretty wild one. In Q, man, look at that stick save. Holy guacamole. Wow. That one almost got the daily roadmap line. Look at that. Somebody drew a big arrow. Look how close that was. Look, sometimes I get lucky on these. Look how close that was where I drew that. I mean, I can't make this stuff up right there. Wow. It's pretty good. Same situation. Got to break above on the 15-minute. Rejecting it immediately here. What do I expect as far as that goes? That low, that high could come back down into this zone. Hunt for support right in here. Find support and bounce. Bust on through. But we've got to... it could just bust through now, but this is the most common pattern that I like to look for. Russell, so far, even though that we had that spike down, still holding the daily roadmap line so far. So far. If we get below it, though, watch out below. Now this could result in a move higher again, and we could go test the, we could rally pretty strongly up back to the 618 level, right up here around 2067. And if you're like, JT, how do you trade Russell? Like S&P 500, I understand. NASDAQ, I understand. Russell, what the heck? It's just IWM right here. Same, has an ETF, has the same sort of deal. And right there, rally back up, 618, and pull this over. It's almost an echo of that same correction we did back here in December into January. Almost perfectly an echo. And that resulted in a large move up. So that could result in a large move up to a 1272 extension. This 618 is the key level. Right here. This is the key. We get above it, we're 70% likely to go up higher. We bounce off of it. Watch out below. How do I know? Well, check it out. I've built this handy dandy indicator that tells me it's actually 78% likely if we bounce off that roadmap line, bust through the 618, we're 78% likely to go up here on this particular ticker based on 28 times in the past. That's kind of neat, right? Building this thing into a thing that can tell me the statistics on this. So I pair it 70%. Sometimes they're even higher probability. So this one, we get above that 618, 78% likely we're coming up here. We've got to be a little conservative right there, about 215. So moving on. CL. Well, we were popping overnight on explosions in Iran, these mystery explosions in factories that U.S. mainstream media was saying was the Israelis, and the Israelis are saying it's not them, and the Iranians saying it's not the Israelis, and you just have to wonder what's all going on. But right there, that could be continuation lower. All right. At this point, with the move down, right there, that move down off the highs, the fact we held that 618 retrace right to it. You see that overnight? Have to jump down in time frames probably so we can make sure we all see it. Right there, you see that? The 618 retrace right there. Held it, didn't close above it. That can result in a bigger move down. Can echo this right on down into the target. Look at that. Simple as that. So oil may be heading from here right on down here over the coming days. Could happen fast, could happen slow. It's kind of confirming that we may, in fact, be going on down to the roadmap line, the daily roadmap line. GC. It was popping overnight, still holding that 618 really tight on this daily chart. That could result in a bigger down here also, which, you know, just an echo off of that first move down. That retrace could result in a move right down here around 2,300. So giving up about $100 on gold before we find a bottom. Entirely possible. All right. Now, the other scenario is we can actually bust up above the 618. Then we get continuation, and that target higher would be 2779. Neither one's high probability at the moment. So that's, at this point, we have resistance above, and we have support below. Anything lower than that low can wrap up the correction if it's a correction, and that can be the next resistance if we're going up. Nothing high probability at the moment. And Bitcoin, as we already talked about, has the halving event. There could be a halving event squeeze today, just kind of like we saw a squeeze into the ETF approval, and then we got a big knee-jerk pullback reaction out of it. So that can happen. Actually, that was over here. Sorry. Dun, dun, dun. We got this big spike right into ETF approval, and then a pullback. It's funny how the chart looks the same when you don't zoom out. See, that pullback looks almost exactly like this pullback. Just made a lower low too. Like 1, 2, 3. That could be the last of this correction here. Anything lower than that could have wrapped that up. So watch for the extension. Pop right on up here. Can go on even up, even higher. I'm optimistic that we won't, since we made a higher high ahead of the halving, that we're running 6 months ahead on the normal cycle. So instead of sitting sideways and farting around for 6 months, we may have already done that over here ahead of time. Like we sat sideways, we sat sideways and kind of farted around, then we rallied up, broke higher. So this could be just a little hiccup. We've seen these hiccups before after they break the prior high. I talked about this earlier in the week, like right here. Dun, 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 dun. Well, I didn't get that right. The ultimate high right there. See what happens when we got to that point right there? We got a nice big fat pullback, similar to what we did the last couple weeks. Right? Similar reaction right at the high as we got to that all-time high. Dun, dun, dun. And that's just on the futures. Doesn't have the whole history on this one because futures didn't exist before this. So if I had the other chart up, the all-time history, you could see it over and over. That's probably why I didn't have it drawn on here, because it was on the other chart. So could we get a pullback? Absolutely. Could we launch off? Absolutely. The big difference right now is we made a new all-time high on Bitcoin before halving. That's never happened before, so that makes this a little different. Like I said, there's several different key differences. And why I'm going to keep coming back to this, because we're doing the main event. Is this halving event here? It only happens every 210,000 blocks, and that's today. Like, that's happening today. It won't happen again until 2028. So it's kind of exciting. Something different, something new. A lot of fundamental changes. If you missed the beginning, rewind, just pull the bar back. It's on the bottom there. The beauty of YouTube, it's all instantly in a replay mode. And Ethereum, if this is notably more bearish, and we've got support down here on the futures. The cash index actually hit the roadmap line, the daily roadmap line, hit it right back here over the weekend. Still sitting on it. That's not exactly what I like to see when I'm looking for something bullish. This usually indicates we might push on down lower. If the SEC classifies this as a security, we could see it flush. Could see a knee-jerk reaction. Could be a buying opportunity. Might not be a buying opportunity. People keep asking me, would I be a buyer on a big flush on SEC classifying it as a security? I don't know. Now, coming out here in May, roughly in the middle of May, there is a spot ETF. There's a number of them that are set to be approved or denied. If the SEC changes the classification of this from a commodity to a security ahead of that approval, then these ETF applications cannot be approved as written. They will have to be modified. All right? That can be a knee-jerk reaction. Now, it doesn't mean that they won't get approved as after they get modified to be holding a security. It makes it more like a traditional ETF, like SPY or QQQ or whatever. But at this point, there's a lot of uncertainty around Ethereum, and I closed most of my exposure. Not all of it, but most of it. Dollar index, still rocking and rolling. Still set on a path to get up here. And if you want to look at this, and we say, oh, look at that, 86% of the time, when we set up this move, we tend to rock and roll up on up. Okay? Highly likely. MSTR. And that one has been working on a trip back to the roadmap line for a while. And it may churn until we meet up over here where the roadmap line keeps coming up. And this kind of keeps churning until we meet up over here someplace. That would be kind of like, what the heck? But that went way crazy on that last move. All right. Way crazy. I don't expect this to just go ripping off again unless Bitcoin just goes tearing off. ISRG probably coming back to the roadmap line. I thought we might do a pullback like this, which, look at that, almost exactly the same size. Where did that come from? Came from back here. One of these prior pullbacks back here. These things tend to do the same moves. That was just a prior type of pullback. Right there. Coin. I've been hoping. Hope is not a trading strategy, but I'm exposed to coin right now. I've been hoping that we would see a return to the roadmap line and give me an opportunity to get in here. Otherwise, I'm going to have to see a move up above this resistance up here. RWOD, Redwood's acquisition, just looks like a crazy, don't get involved in that SPAC That's special purpose acquisition company. And that's a lot of volatility. And I wouldn't touch it with your money. FSLR was popping on some news the last couple of days about a potential ban on whatever it was. Chinese bifacial cells. A new tariff on Chinese bifacial cells. That's what it was. And I don't know. Doesn't matter. That's hitting the 618. And it's got double resistance right there. So look what it did. We did this move down right here, right? There's a fib line. There's the 618 right there, that level. Right there. We hit it. All right. Now, we also did a 3-wave move where this move and that move are the same size. This move up right here, that retrace and that move up, same exact size. That's an echo up in a 3-wave fashion. That's a corrective type of move. We're holding this zone right here. That can result in an echo of this down here and FSLR ending up down here. Don't get caught up in the tariff hopium hypium. This thing looks like it's on a path to come back down here. Connell, that's leverage long on coin. Leverage cuts both ways. Be careful. DJT, WW. I guess these are warrants. These warrants on DJT. Watch out for the dilution of these warrants if they actually do that. Maybe like DJT is Donald J. Trump, but that's the ticker's right here. DJT bouncing a little bit. I expect it to come back eventually. DJT WW I think is warrants, which are more dilution. Shopify down to the roadmap line. Beautiful. Look at 3-wave. That's a correction. We get continuation. Once we break through, 82. Looking for 99. Checking this out. 83% likely. I'll take that bet if it happens. So looking for a move up through 82 up here. BitX, we were talking about earlier, on the biggest gainers list. It's just a 2x Bitcoin. Pull up Bitcoin, whatever the percent move is. This one should be 2x in it. So looking up here, Bitcoin 2.2% and BitX 4.5%. So holding the mustard so far. And I do believe these guys are using futures to do the 2x. So it's probably 2x the futures if you go read the prospectus, not 2x the spot market. All right. DJT probably coming on down, finding a little support at the roadmap line. If like I don't have any statistics on this one because it's too new. If in fact it breaks above the 618, we could see a move up to this 100 area, but I still think we're probably coming back down to fill the gap. Made that little gap down there. Probably gonna come back down in there. BITU, my other. If you don't like BitX, here's BITU, another leverage ETF run by ProShares for Bitcoin. And to each their own. Would I trade options on either one of those right now? No. That's like dipping yourself in gasoline, dousing yourself real good, going and playing with matches in a dynamite factory or nitroglycerin factory. That's highly dangerous. You're going to blow up you and your account. So be careful. Be careful. And that's a derivative on what is the most volatile, craziest moving instrument ever, Bitcoin. So this is a derivative of that, and it's a leverage derivative of that. And then you want to add more leverage with options. Like, that's dangerous. All right. Let's just call a spade a spade. That's dangerous. Don't do that. All right. Unless it's literally money you take out back and throw it into a fire, not just light it on fire, but you just throw it in a fire. I mean, maybe you get lucky and your dollar blows back at you out of the fire, but it's highly likely you're just gonna burn your money. So anyway, ARKB spot ETF. That's just following Bitcoin on a divisible basis. It looks like it's divided by 1,000 at this point, based on what I'm seeing here and the numbers. 1/1000th. And ARKB compared to IBIT, these guys have 2.6 billion under management, whereas IBIT has 16.7 or 16.7 billion. And looks like they're at divide by 2,000 on Bitcoin's price, roughly. Maybe it's 1,600. Netflix, we already talked about getting a little bouncy bounce, which I thought we might see, and then ultimately the target's down here at the roadmap line, and the roadmap line keeps climbing a little bit, so it could just churn here until we tag it at some point in the future. ARM probably coming on down. Eventually. How long am I gonna have to extend this before we get there? I think eventually we're gonna hit this target zone down here. PG, back to the roadmap line really quickly. Wow. That low, that high. Break above this 159 area, 165 on the upside. ANET coming back to the roadmap line. Beautiful potential. I said a lot of this stuff was going to come back, and there were a couple hecklers out there saying, no, it's not going to happen. And there we are. TSM coming on down. Tesla pushed on into the double orange zone. I do have an alert at 145. I suspect we hang here until the earnings. Then do we do a final flush and a pop, or do we just pop, or what? Might I remind you, January 23, just this many earnings back right here, we did a pop of 50% in the days following earnings. Maybe like, well, this time's different. They're all different. I'm just telling you what's happened in the past. A 50% pop can take us right up there. Be careful out there. It doesn't have to be on earnings. It could be in general, these moves last about 13 days after they report earnings. 13 trading days. LI, just chopping. MU. My target was up here. We came up a little shy. May go revisit the roadmap line before we can get up there. ON on semi. On the way. Target down here at 57. Right there. So there we go. If I said anything that was helpful, useful, interesting, beneficial, give me a thumbs up. Give me a like on the video. Cha-ching. It's right down there. I appreciate it. And share it with a friend if you think you know anybody that might enjoy watching this kind of content. Have a great day out there. Remember, it's not being wrong that costs you money. It's staying wrong. Be careful. Be careful. All right? Nobody's watching out for your money but you. I guarantee you. You go hire a financial advisor, they're probably, I probably didn't even do the disclaimer. So before we wrap up, all trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Don't trade. All right, past performance not necessarily indicative of future results. This presentation intended to be informational, educational, fun, and entertaining. Not a recommendation to buy or sell anything, financial instrument or otherwise. No stocks, no options, no bonds, no forex, no futures, no cryptos, no treasuries. Don't long them, don't short them, don't trade them. If you desire personal financial advice, hire and consult a financial advisor. Make sure you trust them, because most people out there are just looking to get some of your money and make some of their money. All right, take some of your money, make some of their money, maybe a lot of your money into a lot of their money. Be careful. Be careful. Have a great day. I'll be in Discord. And I don't know, if I'm feeling it later, might do a live stream for the halving. It depends on what time it's kind of happening. It may just pass me by and I'll be like, oh, halving happened. So Kimberly was like, how do you know what time is going to happen? I was like, you don't. Like, we could get down where we have 5 blocks left and they all take 1 second and halving just blows right by us. And we're like, well, that was uneventful. So sometimes the miners get lucky and it only takes like 1 second. Like, we can look back here. There was a block last night. I saw, yeah, look right there. That block had one transaction in it. An empty block. That was an instant find. Right? The block authenticators didn't even put any transactions in it. They just guessed the number instantly right after the block flipped. They guessed the right number that hashed the block. So it was an empty block, no transactions. So those happen. We could, it's possible we get like 5 of them right in a row. So anyway, have a great day, everybody. We'll see.